Good afternoon, good morning, or good evening to everyone attending this webinar. First of all, I would like to thank the host of this Global Shield conference, Angeline, and the rest of the coordinating team for having put together such a wonderful conference in probably a short period of time, inviting speakers from a broad range of expertise and giving us an opportunity to share our insights with the audience. So I'm really grateful for this opportunity. And secondly, welcome to everyone attending this session. So let us begin this session. Before we begin with the main content of the session, I would kind of like to ask you one thing. I have a quick question. How many of you use AI every day? Probably all of us use it in some or the other capacity. We may be using it frequently, maybe for our work or personal uses sometimes, or maybe very rarely. But in some or the other way, we are definitely using AI. Now you might be wondering, what does AI have to do with online citizenship and empathy? So let's start by defining these ideas. Online citizenship means behaving responsibly, ethically, and respectfully in digital spaces, just like we do in real life. Empathy means understanding and respecting the feelings and perspectives of others. So, AI is playing an increasing role in how we interact online, sometimes for better, sometimes with challenges. So, today, in this session, we'll explore how AI helps to promote responsible behavior online and whether it can actually teach us to be more empathetic. So, now, if we utilize AI as a tool for positive online citizenship, in what ways can we use this? First, is that AI helps to identify and reduce the harmful content. One of the AI's biggest role in online safety is detecting harmful content. AI is used to flag cyberbullying, hate speech, and misinformation. For example, Instagram and YouTube now use AI to scan comments before they are posted and suggest edits if they detect offensive language. So now it's time for a little reflection. Think about the last time you saw a warning message before posting or sharing something. Did it make you pause and reconsider? Well, if the answer is yes, you really need to think about what you are going to post and whether, if after receiving the warning, did you actually modify it? If yes, then that's definitely a good sign of positive online behavior. Second, AI encourages safe and smart internet use. AI can also help users navigate online spaces in a responsible manner. Parental control AI tools filter inappropriate content for kids. AI fact checking tools warn users about misinformation. For example, WhatsApp has an AI powered system that labels the forwarded messages and flags potential misinformation. So, have you ever used a fact checking tool before sharing something? If yes, that's good because in that way, we'll have an idea about what kind of information we are sharing with others, maybe through our personal channels, through social media platforms, and everything. Obviously, we don't want to be the messengers of potential misinformation, right? Third, AI supports digital inclusion. AI is also making online spaces more accessible to people with different needs. Like Google's Live Transcribe helps people with hearing impairments by converting speech to text in real time. Now, let us come to the empathy part of it. AI and empathy. So, do you think AI can teach us to be kinder? Well, let's ponder that question and take a deep dive into it. Now, AI chatbots and virtual companions are being designed to simulate empathy. Example, VBot, an AI mental health chatbot, responds to people's feeling in a supportive way. Like imagine You tell a chatbot that I'm having a rough day, and it replies, that sounds difficult. Do you want to talk about it? So, would you feel comfortable talking to an AI about your emotions? If yes, why? And if not, I perfectly understand because after all, you are dealing with a non human entity, and that non human factor plays an important role. So, that's about the chatbots and the virtual companions. But all of us might have observed that with the advent of AI, especially with the rise of tools like LLM and a lot of different LLMs from Google, Microsoft, OpenAI, and everything, AI has increasingly embedded itself into schools and learning. So, AI is helping students develop empathy in education. Like some AI driven apps adjust their tone and feedback based on how the students interact, encouraging respectful communication. AI powered VR simulations let students experience different perspectives, like what it is like to live in a different country or with special needs. But the challenge is that AI lacks human emotion. AI can mimic empathy, but it does not feel that empathy. So AI is a tool that helps to guide their behavior, but we humans are responsible for how we use it. So AI is shaping our online world, but at the end of the day, we control how we use it. AI can flag harmful content, but we choose whether to spread positivity or negativity. AI can suggest facts, but we decide whether to fact check that information or not. AI can encourage empathy, but we must be responsible to digital citizens. You might not realize it, but AI is already influencing how we communicate online. From social media platforms to chatbots, virtual assistants, AI is guiding our conversations, shaping what we see, and even encouraging or sometimes discouraging certain behaviors. So, let, there is this simple truth that the internet can be both wonderful and dangerous. AI plays a growing role in shaping our digital experiences, and in many cases, it is being used to make online spaces safer, smarter, and more inclusive. Social media platforms like, as I mentioned, that Instagram, TikTok, YouTube use AI moderation tools to scan the comments, posts, and messages in real time. This feature helps people rethink their words before hurting someone else or spreading toxicity. Now, AI tools also help people navigate the online spaces responsibly. With AI powered parental controls and fact checking tools, we have all these things at our disposal. But the responsibility lies with us to check whether something is true before sharing it online. So, before I go into the next part of thing, I would like to ask you like think of a time when you have learned about another person's struggle. How did that change your perspective? So, here's the thing. When it comes to the real life and your digital life, there are quite a bit of differences. In your real life, when you hear about someone's problems or maybe some sort of struggles that they are going through, you might lend them a ear, offer some help, advice, something like that. But what if the person who's hearing out to you is an AI chatbot or a virtual companion? AI can be programmed to show kindness, but it truly does not understand human emotions. AI can encourage better behavior, but it is up to us to practice real empathy. So, AI is shaping the way we behave online, but ultimately, we control how we use it. So, before posting a comment online, pause and ask yourself, would I say this in person? And if your inner feeling says no, then of course you should never post it online. Think multiple times before you press on that send or the go button or the enter button so that you avoid spreading toxicity, hate, or misinformation through social media platforms. So, let's use AI to create a kinder, more responsible digital world. So, that's I would like to wrap up my session by asking one last question. What's one AI tool that you'll use now more thoughtfully? Feel free to drop it in the comment box and we can carry forward the conversation offline. Thank you for your time.
Super interesting conversation there, and how AI is embedded in everything that we do now. So I'd love to ask you, what do you think the biggest challenge is for this year? We know AI has been about for quite a bit now, and even though people are saying it's evolving or it's new, what do you think the singular biggest challenge is in 2025?
I think one of the most common problems that we face is given that the AI tools that we are currently dealing with are pretty open source, easily accessible, and user friendly in nature. So, all of us know how to use these tools, but the problem is that we do not know how to use them in a careful and responsible manner so as to get the maximum potential benefits out of it. You can write a couple of prompts in ChatGPT or Gemini or Cloud and get your answers accordingly. But you should definitely check for any kind of hallucinations or false responses before actually posting it or sharing it with someone so as to reduce the spread of misinformation and disinformation. That's one major thing we need to be aware about.
And talking about current things, obviously in AI, you may or may not be able to answer, but what are your thoughts on DeepSeek? That's obviously just come out recently.
Yeah, that's a very timely question, I would say. Given that we have now the rise of DeepSeek, and you must have read that just maybe 4 or 5 days back, China only introduced something even more advanced than DeepSeek called Kimi AI. It was launched by some company in China only. So now, with this geopolitical perspective coming into picture, things are taking shape very differently. DeepSeek, no doubt, has a lot of capabilities, is trained at quite less cost than the ChatGPT from OpenAI. All that's fine. And I think with the advancement of technology, optimization does occur. But why did DeepSeek got so much of attention? One of the reasons is that it came from China, and all of us know at what level it stands with respect to some of the developed countries like the USA, the European Union, and the global south. And that's why it also raises major concerns related to data privacy and security. No one knows how the privacy policy of DeepSeek looks like or what are the terms and conditions mentioned there. And as with any AI tools that we use, privacy and security are of significant importance.
100% super valid. I'm going to throw a question at you now. It's like along the lines of what we're talking about, but going slightly off to one side. What do you think about AI in schools and education?
The
Good,
AI
bad, indifferent.
Sure, school and education has kind of two sides to it. One is utilized by the students, the other is utilized by the teachers, like pedagogical learning and student learning, I would say. So when it's used by students, I mentioned that students have been using tools like ChatGPT for all sorts of their homeworks, essays, assignments, and typically for every single task that's assigned to them because they are so easily available, right? And nowadays, now you open any Google Doc, Google Slides, you have the Gemini button embedded there. So you don't even need to like write even an initial draft. You just press on the Gemini button, you write, you just give a prompt about what you want the document about, and it's well written. So it kind of, I believe, affects that cognitive, the deep reasoning that is required. However, obviously, as I mentioned in my talk, that AI can mimic us, but it cannot feel or it cannot come at that power of human level cognition. And when it's used by teachers, I would say Obviously, it reduces a lot of manual efforts for checking or grading the assignments, preparing the lesson plans, and everything. So, it's definitely a boon for teachers as well as students. But you need to use it with caution and in a responsible manner.
So basically, I mean, like everything we do, like even the utilization of smartphone and apps, and now we've got AI, as you say, and you can just click a button at the top. It's making us lazy. It's making life just quick and easy. And I think we touched on this yesterday. Everything is in an instant, you know. So do you think it's a good thing or it's a bad thing? I mean, we know tech is developing. 2, 3 years ago, we weren't talking about AI really in the same scale. So, do you think it's gonna go too advanced? Or, I mean, we had the AI Paris Summit last week. Do you think we should pause it until we get something in place, or do you think it's just a bit of a free for all at the moment?
I think that's a question of balancing innovation versus regulation, like how we use it totally depends on the application that we are utilizing it for and the level to which we are deploying these AI based solutions. Say, for example, if you're dealing with a highly confidential setting like healthcare, and you tell someone that a robot will perform a surgery for you, or maybe an AI based tool will perform some kind of diagnostic screening for you, people will be kind of little suspicious about revealing their personal information to this non human entity. And that definitely comes with a cost because people are still not aware about how these things work because they are typically black box in nature. So rather than using it just because everyone else is using it, we really need to sit down and give a thought like, is an AI solution really needed for my problem? Because sometimes some problems can come with a very simple solution. You don't need AI for everything. So just determine if AI is really the solution to the problem you are going after.
Absolutely. I mean, the thing there is, I think, it's instilling that into people's minds. It's so easily available now, saying to people, well, you can use AI to do this answer and have the answer back in a nanosecond, or you can really take your time and think about it. Human nature will go for the easiest option, won't it? So I think you're absolutely right. It's getting people's understanding. Do we actually need it? Will the answer we get back even be accurate and fair and balanced? So it's a super interesting thing to see how this is going to progress. I think in the future, it's exciting times. It's good to hear your views on it. Um, I think being in the AI space, you're going to be exceedingly busy and keeping up to date with all the research and everything that's going on. There is a Q&A actually. Oh, let me how does the use of AI for speech moderation toe the line between censorship and free speech?
So given that most of us rely like inclined towards democratization, freedom of speech, freedom of expression. So when it comes to applying censorship, these concerns do come to our mind. But mind it, there is a remarkable difference between like spreading misinformation, toxicity, or cyberbullying and expressing views. You are definitely like free to express what you want, but you can put it in a very simpler, milder tone as well without losing the meaning or the context behind it. So that's why these social media platforms like YouTube and Instagram have those algorithms which flag for any potential, these kind of violations. Or if there is any post which violates these rules, it's immediately taken down from the feed just so as to avoid the issues surrounding it. And I believe that there's no harm or there's no kind of pause. This does not bring a pause in expressing your concerns, voicing out your thoughts. It's just that you need to do it in a different manner without causing negative consequences.
Easier said than done, I think. Uh, that's the world we live in, isn't it? I mean, balancing privacy and free speech and, everything like that is just a whole nother argument. So absolutely fascinating talk. Thank you very much for taking part. And I would like to say, to anybody, if you'd like to follow up with Sahaj, go to the lobby or reach out to us and we can put you in touch. And, I'm sure Sahaj would be more than happy to talk further about all this.
Thank you.